Hello, this is Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show. This is Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and I am Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Our very special guest today is Mr. Marcus Lewis. He is a Republican running for the 1st Congressional District. How are you today, Marcus?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, tell us about the neighborhoods and suburbs that are under your district.
Well, the 1st Congressional District, which I'm running for, and hopefully will win on November 5th, consists of 15th and Wabash that goes through 3 counties, Cook, Will, and Kankakee counties. Goes all the way down to Bourbonnais. So we have the neighborhoods, obviously, of Bronzeville and Chatham. And we have Frankfort, we have New Lenox, we have Bourbonnais. There are several towns that we go through.
Auburn Gresham?
Auburn Gresham, yes, Auburn Gresham, parts of Auburn Gresham. And so with the 715,000 residents, I am ready to represent them fully and vigorously in Washington.
When you got your signatures, were you able to talk with the residents?
Oh, yes. I got those signatures myself. And I told them that I'm here to bring a difference that they have never seen in the last 89 years. It's been under Democratic rule. So we want to make history on November 5th.
So you're talking about the 1st Congressional District has always been Democrat?
Yes, since 1935.
Much like all of Illinois, has been Democrat. It's solid, and it's only the other Democratic states are on the coast, but Illinois stands in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm. And what about the signatures? You as a Republican, how many signatures did you have to get?
We were required to get 370, of which I had gotten 400 solid signatures from the various voters of all parties, Democrat, Independent, and Republican.
Were you challenged?
I was not.
Did you challenge anybody?
I did. We challenged our opponent, but through other maneuvers, because they had filed paperwork that put their statement of candidacy for nonpartisan, and it went all the way to the appellate court, and the appellate court allowed them to remain on, and then we still beat them 80% to 19%.
Of what, 1880?
80% of the vote on March 19th.
Okay.
We won.
Okay. So it was your opponent in the Republican primary?
That's correct.
Got it. Mm-hmm. And when you were running against your opponent, what were the differences between the two of you?
Well, my opponent had never run for Congress and had gotten bumped off, withdrawn from the various races, well, basically disqualified because she had run for mayor and she had run for alderman, and she basically had no experience. I, on the other hand, this is my 8th consecutive run for Congress. I had run for the 2nd congressional race 6 times, and this is the 2nd time I'm running for the 1st congressional race. I'm just determined, and I feel it's a calling that I should be in Congress because we don't have anybody that wants to show the empathy, the initiative to fight for the constituency instead of just holding the job, as all the other Congress people have been doing and are doing. They're not doing the public any good, and they're not getting a benefit.
Are your is your opponent or the incumbent supporting everybody who would be their constituency at this point in time?
No. This gentleman, Jonathan Jackson, is running as a freshman. And so he's running only by his name that he was given, Jackson. That's it. He's even making a big issue about his middle name being Luther because he's supposed to be the godson of Martin Luther King Jr. But that doesn't pay the bills, you see? We need someone that will not want to be a celebrity, but actually a servant. And that's what the people aren't getting. They feel that we allow you to vote for us, we'll glad hand, we'll wave at you, We might show up at an event from time to time, but that's as far as it goes. They are using these seats for the Democratic machine, and they are not parsing out or representing, because there's a lot of things that the people need, but it's being covered over. And that nonsense is going to stop when I'm elected November 5th.
Is there any Republican machine?
If it is, it's not in Illinois. Illinois is basically, the Republican Party is in a rebuilding stage. It's basically been decimated. And so that's why you have the overwhelming majority Democrat holding almost every seat available that can be had. We have 3 congresspeople out of 17. 3. Just 3 Republican congressmen, and they are downstate.
So if these 3 Republican seats, they broke through, but not many others broke through.
It's not that they broke through, they just lasted.
Well, they got elected.
They got elected, but it's in majority Republican areas. So their districts are safe. Mm-hmm. But give it time, if people continue to move out of Illinois, mm-hmm. then it will be gentrified, and then they will lose those seats, and that would be a tragedy to have 17 seats, all Democrat.
So if these 3 were elected, how do you plan on getting elected?
Well, I want people to come to an epiphany. How's that working for you when you have the prices? We have inflation sky high, even though it's come down. Look what they've been through. The gas prices, everybody's touched. We have a executive branch in Washington that's absolutely corrupt. And the legislature, had it not been for the Republicans taking over in 22, we would not know of the severe corruption that is going on in Washington. We wouldn't even know it. We wouldn't know it had not been for President Trump running. And if it hadn't been for the Republicans taking over the House, and it was taken over because of Lee Zeldin in New York had run for governor. And even though he didn't get it, but 4 seats were won, which gave us the majority in the House. Thank God for it. It slowed down the Democrat, which was going to literally enslave us. We were going to be under COVID for a complete 4 years. We were going to be locked down, mandated, masked up, shot up. We had the former congressman of the 1st Congressional District, Bobby Rush, had filed a bill in 21, H.R. 6666, which would have mandated every American citizen must take those COVID shots or be imprisoned or lose your job. This is the type of penalty and punishment that is punitive to the American citizen. It's punitive to our psyche. It's punitive to our economy. And we can't tolerate this. Where did this mindset come from? They're not even for the working class anymore. We will have, I hope, because I'm just giving the people the opportunity to vote for me, that if you want change, this is a change election. And hopefully, they vote for me, they will see a complete renewal.
That HR 666 that you mentioned, we did not hear about it, but what happened to it so that we did not hear about it?
It didn't make it through out of committee, but its filing was sponsored by Bobby Rush.
Got it.
So that was HR 6666. 4 sixes.
4 sixes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Just so our viewers, if they want to look it up.
Please do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you started running, and then versus what you are, how you are running now, has it been become easier for you, or has it become more difficult?
It's easier because I've known the swing of what is necessary to, first of all, ballot access in Illinois is extremely difficult. Anybody will tell you that. And I have learned how to get on this ballot and remain on the ballot because I've been challenged before. I was put out by Robin Kelly in 2014.
Did you go as a write-in?
I went as a write-in.
That's a tough way to go.
It is. They don't count your write-in votes. I gave me 122, but we did do advertising on the radio, and we had billboards. And Robin Kelly's people were asking me, were calling the people that I had signed up to, don't play his commercials and do everything you can to take those billboards down.
I believe that with the media, with radio and television, there's a special rate during an election for people running for public office. They get a special lower rate, and they have to play these.
They do. They have to. But they were telling them not to play mine in specificity, because they figure that my billboards were saying things that they didn't like, which is just do it. That's what we did. Just do it. Just write me in. And the commercials were hard hitting. We had one different one every day.
So being a writing candidate, I was a writing candidate. Mm-hmm. And it is the most difficult thing. You have to go and get these affidavits from everybody you got signatures from. You've got to do this and that. There's so much going on.
That's if you get challenged.
When you're challenged and you're out and you become a writing candidate. Mm-hmm. It's a really tough way to go. So if you're in this position that's not the greatest, obviously, mm-hmm. as a writing candidate, why would Robin Kelly find you as such a threat to put in all of this effort and time and money to call up these news people to get your banners and posters taken down?
The reason being because that was her first full for Congress. She was in the 2013 special election, as I was, and she finished Jesse Jackson Jr.'s term. So in order for her to get her own
she was
term,
appointed, you're saying?
No, she went through a special election in 2013. Okay. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of people that ran. There were 17 that ran for that slot. But as far as history goes, her first full term on her own was 2014. And they did everything. They didn't want her to be disturbed because Michael Bloomberg put her in there. I mean, he put $2 million behind her. And so this is the pay-to-play that we are dealing with here in not only Illinois, but probably in other places as well. But the issue of it is now people know that they have been beaten up by the party that they've been voting for. They're not giving any reprieve for these gas prices. These illegals, I know we'll probably get into, have been flooding our country. Every state is a border state. Every city is a border city. And if you have sanctuary status, as I have shown both of you, there was a receipt where in a store here in Chicago, the retailer, it was his copy, showed that this illegal had $11,545.79 balance. Now, you know, SNAP is only $294 for the full amount.
Do you have evidence of this?
I do.
Do you have the receipt?
I do not have the receipt, but I have it on my Facebook and I have it on my website, marcuslewisforcongress.org.
And if we're bringing it to Illinois, if these undocumented immigrants came into Texas, how exactly did they get to Illinois?
They got through Illinois because Abbott was sending them here. Because
Governor Abbott.
Governor Abbott, thank you. Because if Governor Abbott allowed all those illegals to languish in Texas, they would turn it blue. Because the end goal is to make them voters. And if you lose Texas, Republicans can never win the presidency ever again. And so he had to spread them out. And he spread them out well. He gave them to those that said, Governor Hochul said, bring them here, bring them to us. We have restaurants, we have hotels. I don't know if she was saying to stay there or work there. The same thing in here in Chicago.
So why did he send them to these different states?
He sent them
in particular these different states.
Because they had sanctuary status. And they said, bring them here. Bring them to us. And Mayor Brandon Johnson has spent over $500 million on them. Where was that money when black have been needing and begging for resources? Because we are in dire need. And not just
for a long time.
For decades.
There has been an argument with a lot of people, especially people who attend city council meetings recently, who are Democrats who have turned Republicans who have recently turned. Democrats who have recently turned Republican. Mm-hmm. A little bit confusing because I'm not used to this kind of thing happening. Mm-hmm. It's been happening more recently, and they're concerned that there are a lot of homeless black people on the streets for all these years, and they feel that the funding should go to them instead of the undocumented immigrants that came from Texas.
It is highly unfair. I will tell you, I personally saw with my own eyes at Museum Shores. Now, that's the 2nd Congressional District, but Museum Shores behind the Science and Industry Museum, there's a bridge that goes over. And underneath that bridge is 100 black
Tent City.
homeless people under that viaduct. It's just an outrageous, inhumane way that they are living under a bridge. But we have on 4800 Beach Drive, right there off Lakeshore Drive, filled to capacity with illegals. And they are all clean. They're getting 3 squares. They're saying 3 hots in a cot. They can bathe. They're getting clothing. They're getting snacks. And they're on our city streets, downtown, selling candy. And
What about then? Have the African Americans gone to those places where they are offering these showers and these shelter spaces,
Yes.
and try to ask if they could be let in?
they're being turned away. They said, if you had been an illegal, but you're not, you happen to be an American. Isn't that something?
Do you have evidence of that one? Where did you hear that one?
Well, I have a relative that's homeless, and he told me point blank. He's been out there for almost 17 years, and he says, I would like to be in a hotel. He said, I just don't have the money. And so this is from personal experience. This thing is personal, and this is outrageous, ungodly. How could you, because I'm an apostolic minister, how can you treat someone that has been here, that is an American, that has ID? Remember, all homeless don't not without ID, but they can't get any resources. And here we have a black mayor who is doing his own that looks like him. How could you do that for the Democratic convention, you know, on Canal right off the expressway?
We attended that.
They fended, okay, you tended them, but they fenced in, removed the homeless that were on the embankment on the expressway. It's like a tent city, it's been there for years. And for the DNC, they removed them and placed them somewhere, but they fenced in so they could not return. Now, I'm not saying that's bad, but the point of it is, why are they just being removed and left to still fend for themselves? The illegals have become the wanted for right now.
For the DNC, after the DNC ended, were they able to return or no?
No.
And also,
There's a fence there. There's no way they can return.
And also, your statements about the resources and etc. Was anybody able to do a Freedom of Information Act request documenting these expenditures to the undocumented aliens versus no expenditures, no funding expended to the African American homeless people?
Well, Ms. Trudy, there was an expose on NBC, WMAQ, and it took several months before they were able to get a FOIA. I did view that on NBC myself. And the alderwoman, Jeanette
Taylor?
Taylor, she's the 20th Ward, was seeking this information. And it was very difficult, but she did finally get some. They were spending $17,000 to clean a week, to clean the bathrooms in the police stations when they were residing there. The illegals were residing there. $17,000.
We did see some of those receipts. They said that NBC said that it was very difficult to get any of the documents, but they did get 2 receipts and some contracts. And then they did state that the favorite staffing was being given a certain amount. Some people were getting such and such amount of salary and compensation for their work, but they did not say exactly who those people are in that compensation. Whether they were undocumented people, or whether they were citizens that were being paid.
The issue of it is that we should be outraged. There should be no more continued dancing with this issue. These people got to go home.
But Trudy raised the point that there is an unknown piece of information that would be needed to connect that, to connect your accusation.
Oh, absolutely, and it's out there. But the point I'm saying is, we as citizens should be outraged. This cannot continue no longer. These illegals must be deported immediately. And that's going to happen when President Donald J. Trump is elected, and I'm going to help him should I be elected to congressman of the 1st Congressional District. We cannot support this paid vacation. Who would open the doors of our country and allow the unvetted influx of this mankind, which we do not know? In fact, in Venezuela, they said that they are 70%, where the crime rate has dropped 70% because they're emptying out their prisons, they're emptying out their jails. We can tell that there are those that are being raped, being murdered here on our shores by these illegals. And the current congressman says absolutely nothing. He voted against the Lake and Riley Act.
Well, what I have to say is we've been asking you a lot about your sources and where you're getting this information from. So you got to tell us, where did you get this information from?
It's right online. You have to go to the House Res.
Wait, say it again?
House Res.
Tell 'em.
House Res. You can go to the United States House of Representatives, and you can look up the various bills that have been sponsored and voted on. We just had on September 19th, 2024, where we had the SAVE Act, where the illegals were going to be prohibited from voting in any elections. We also had a bill to where it was the illegals against the sexual crimes ban. 158 Democrats, including the entire Democratic delegation from Illinois, voted no, that there should be no ban, because in the bill...
No ban on what?
On sexual crimes. There would be no ban, that they would be deported. See, that was the catch. If they committed a rape or anything, these 158 Democrats, including Jonathan Jackson and the entire Democratic delegation, voted no. They are going to remain here no matter what. If they happen to commit a murder or rape or whatever, they remain.
And we also would need statistics about how many crimes were committed by these Venezuelans, so that we actually have the figures. And plus also, earlier we did mention about favorite staffing. They did not specifically say that $17,000 amount that someone received was apportioned to an undocumented person.
You now know that your work is cut out for you. This is absolutely intolerable that we are even discussing, as we have to find information when we all have seen on the news that will print it. But it's there on social media, it is there on what they call the underground, that is on the internet, that is clearly showing you from city to city to city to city, the crime wave that's been just unleashed upon us. Well, until it happens to us, then we want to play with statistics. We have an influx of over 21 million people here who you don't know who they are.
Well, the thing is that if what you're saying is true, then there should be the statistics. And if someone is not giving us the statistics, then we should be alarmed. Well, and then who is asking, and how are they responding? Because we do understand that sometimes Freedom of Information Act requests go unanswered, because we have done Freedom of Information Act requests from the medical examiner, and we asked for information about our friend who died, and they said, oh, it's the request has been granted, and then they told us how to get to it on the website, and that all we have to do is click on additional documents under his name, and the information will be there. The documents are there, but they were not there. The whole tab was absolutely empty. So what you are saying, then people should get the FOIA, do the FOIA, and see if the documents will be released to them. If they are not, then we have something to stand on.
I would like to say, if I may.
And we have 1 minute left, so if you could take it down to 20 seconds.
Surely.
Yes, and so there also additional information about yourself as well.
You can go to MarcusLewisForCongress.org. That's MarcusFor Congress.org, and you'll find about everything that I've been saying here. But what we're saying is November 5th is here. It's time to vote. We ask you to vote red. We're asking you to vote for me because you're not going to get any answers from the Democratic Party at all. They've been in power. Everybody knows what's going on. Statistics may be fine, but real life is what the people are facing right now. And we are in a whole lot of trouble. Our country and our district is in peril.
And I would like to just suggest we interview Democrats and Republicans and Green and Independent, everybody. And
Wait,
I would suggest that you check on every candidate and do the fact-checking yourself and make an informative decision when you vote.
Be a responsible voter. This has been Community Unity Now, the D. Tycoon Show, with Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and me, Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Marcus Lewis, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
for watching, and we'll see you again next week.